So honestly, the intentional conference last year, I didn't even have a reason on why I wanted to come or thought it might be a good idea. Kind of had the feeling on my heart that, all right, this might be a good experience, something cool, something different, something new. A couple days before, on the day here, traveling here to the intentional conference that night, the fear didn't go away. It was still right there along with me. Even walking through the doors, it was still there. I walked into the sanctuary being like, I'm out of place, I don't really know anybody here. What exactly am I doing, And then when I got in there and we started to praise together, and the speaker that we had last year started to speak, it just seemed like God just started talking to me. It was like, all right, you're supposed to be here. You walk through the fear, you walk through the valley, you walk through the overthinking, and you just focused on trusting what I was leading you towards. And it was throughout that night, worshiping with the people, hearing the speaker talk, and everything that was a part of it that led me to give my life to Christ that night, August 23rd last year, and say, all right, make that verbal commitment and that mental commitment that, all right, this is what I want to do. I really want to give my whole life to Christ, focus my heart on Christ. The conference continued. God just giving reassurance where I needed reassurance and filling me where I needed filled and giving me peace right where I needed peace.
I had just moved to college. I transferred my sophomore year to ECU, and I was really just praying about what God wanted me to do with my next summer. I just felt like God put on my heart to go to Africa, and I was like, okay, that's so random. Yeah, that would be awesome, but that's kind of random. And then it kind of turned into, okay, you're supposed to lead a group of people there. And I was like, whoa. I just really wanted to make sure it wasn't my own fleshly desires wanting to do something like that. So then I asked Steve, I was like, hey, can I lead a mission trip to Kenya? And he thought about it for a day or so, and I honestly thought he was going to say no, just because I feel like most people wouldn't let a 19-year-old do that, who had never led a mission trip before at all. But then he let me know. He's like, yeah, I think you should do it, and I think it will be great.
For me, so I'd actually told Lovie and her mom that, hey, I think the Western North Carolina one's more for me, just no way I'm going to go on the Kenya mission trip. It's just too big of a leap. I think it was the Sunday before, or the Sunday that they were closing the signups for the Kenya mission trip. Steve up on stage said, all right, we need 3 more people to go. And I just had this real heavy pull on my heart. I was like, Bodie, you're being stupid, for lack of better words now. You're just sitting here in fear, not moving out of where you're at, Steve had even made a comment, if people need help with money, we can help support. And I was like, there you go. That's the one thing that's been on your mind. Steve even said, if you do for some reason need support, even though you don't, it's there. And it was immediately after that service when I walked back over to Cheryl's office, and I actually butted heads with a buddy of mine. We happened to both be walking to the office at the same time. I look up at him, he looks up at me. We're like, what are you doing? I say, I'm just going to sign up for the Kenya trip. He looks at me crazy-eyed. I'm like, what? He said, well, I was about to sign up for it too. We looked at each other and giggled a little bit, and I said, well, we should have just talked to each other about 2-3 months ago. We could have had ourselves signed up for it already. In every scenario, whatever I needed done, whether it was passport, a vaccine, some e-visa or some other piece of paperwork, or just buying clothes to pack for the trip, every answer seemed to be right where I needed it, right when I needed it.
So when I first started planning the trip, I was super excited, and I just couldn't wait for it to come, and July 5th could not get here fast enough. I couldn't wait. But as we started getting closer to the trip, I started to feel a lot of anxiety and fear around the trip, just because I've never done anything like this before. Just feeling that weight of the what ifs and the dangers and just the what could go wrongs. I was terrified for the 48 hours before we went on the trip. I was so scared. I felt like I was paralyzed in fear. But I just went anyways, and I trusted that God was going to provide. And time again, he provided exactly what I needed. God's hand was definitely over the whole entire trip, the whole process. And I think one thing that he really, really taught me was about his intentionality, just with the way that everything worked out. And he also taught me a lot about his timing and how that is perfect. God just put together the most perfect team to go in the most perfect timing. And the way the team worked together was just so beautiful and so Christ-like. And I just felt like we were able to accomplish so much and just experience Christ so much there in so many different ways. And I honestly feel like the people of Kenya and the people of Naivasha taught me so much more about Jesus than I taught them about Jesus.
Even if you're not taking a big step forward, it's just a baby step. This mission trip in this past year has been a true testament to that. It's been stepping out in fear in places and times daily and almost hourly where doing things and walking through things that I've never experienced or done before, and we're disciples that are here to build disciples. So
if you told me last summer that I would have gathered a group of people and taken them over to Kenya, I would have been like, there's literally no way. And if you would have told me that 2 years ago, I was in a very different place with my faith and just who I was as a person. And so he used my meager offering, and he used what little obedience I was offering him a few years ago to turn it into this beautiful testimony. Allow me to be in a place spiritually where God asked me to do something like that, and I actually said yes. And it started out as one small prayer in my room, and it turned into this beautiful trip that, I hope has an eternal impact on Naivasha and on us.